John 5, chapter 1, it says, afterward, Jesus returned to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish holidays. Inside the city, near the sheep gate, was the pool of Bethesda, with 5 covered porches. Crowds of sick people, blind, lame, and paralyzed, lay on the porches. One of the men lying there had been sick for 38 years. When Jesus saw him and knew he had been ill for a long time, he asked him, "Would you like to get well?" "Sir, I can't," the sick man said, "for I have no one to put me into the pool, and when the water bubbles up, someone else always gets there ahead of me." Jesus told him, "Stand up, pick up your mat, and walk." There are times in our life, there are situations that we get into, situations that we get involved in, maybe from our own fault, our own decisions, or maybe influenced by somebody else. But there are times in our life where we fall into a trap of a low. I imagine, and as I read this text, this guy, the Bible, the scriptures say that he's 38. I don't know if he was older than that and he had did something that led him to be sick or paralyzed for 38 years by his own decision. He had done something wrong, or if he was born in that condition and he was just 38 years old, I don't know. But the scriptures say that for 38 years, he was by this pool of Bethesda, surrounded by the sick, the lame, the ill, the paralyzed, and the blind. The scriptures say, if you read it, there's another translation in the Passion Translation or the Amplified Translation say that at a certain time that an angel would come down and would stir up the water, and that anybody who got in the water, the first person to get in that water, would then be healed. And they can leave that area. But for 38 years, this man lived around the sick, the ill, the paralyzed, the blind. The complete rejected of society. In those times, they didn't help you much. I mean, look what they did with what you could read in the scriptures, what they did with people that were afflicted with leprosy. What did they do? They put them out on the outside of the city, and they called them unclean. You weren't allowed to come in. You weren't allowed to be touched. They didn't talk to you. They just left you there. And these people would live and gather around the pool, and I want you to think for your second, like what that must have been like, what that experience was like. For those of you that don't know, you're going to be shocked right now, but I am from California. And so, I'm from, what's that? Jordan. I'm from California. We're from a small town called Ridgecrest. It's in the Mojave Desert, in the central eastern side of California. We're at the base of a mountain range, the Sierra Nevada mountain range. It is probably one of the most beautiful places that I've ever seen, and I'll be honest with you, I miss it. My son was born, my kids were born and raised there. Everything was, it was just a really small place. It's about 5 minutes to get anywhere you want to get, and actually Walterboro reminds me a lot of home, of a lot of Ridgecrest. There's a whole lot of similarities. And so, but I started when my son, his junior year of high school, we sent him to Los Angeles to go play basketball. He got recruited at a prep school to go play high school ball his junior year. And he'd only known Ridgecrest. And he got sent over there to live on his own. He moved in with his family, and we rented out a little one-bedroom for him. And the experience, the eye-opening experience that had for him changed him forever. Because he got to see the rejected of society. Although he went to a prep school, it was in, I don't know how much y'all know of Los Angeles, but although he went to a prep school, he was in East Los Angeles. And in the middle of East Los Angeles, right next to downtown Los Angeles, it was Skid Row. The rejected of society. The blind. The sick. The strung out. The addicted. You could drive through there and see them sleeping on the streets and see them eating out of trash cans and begging on the freeways and living on the overpasses and under them, and they were just everywhere in the parks. You couldn't walk anywhere because you would be standing over them and stepping over them, and you can see them. They're doing their personal business out in the open. You can be driving during the day and just watching grown men and women doing their personal business, using the restroom wherever it is they were. And I want to take that picture and I want to think about this because this man had been in this situation for 38 years around that. Not the cleanest environment. Not the most sanitary environment. People weren't coming to help you. You're on your own. And it's easy to get lost when we get into situations and when we get into when we find our life being entrapped in something like that, and when we find ourselves being the low of the low, getting entrapped at our rock bottom lowest point, it's easy to get trapped in the idea of they. It's easy to get trapped in it's everybody else's fault but me. I'm going to take this one step further. When you've been addicted for so long, it's easy to say it's not my fault. I'm just sick. I'm going to take it just one step further. It's easy to say that it's better for me to sit down and watch this video on my screen, on my phone, on my computer, in the privacy of my home, than to go and live it out and cheat on my wife. It's easier to make excuses about the environment that I'm in than to deal with the problem that is inside me. It is easier to blame somebody else. Well, I would do this, but him. I would do this, but her. It's easy to get lost in the chaos when you're invested in it. 38 years, think about that. 38 years. I imagine that as it started off, it didn't start off so like desperate. That there's probably, in the beginning, there was probably an attempt, a try, Okay, I'm going to get there. I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to get into the pool. Today's my day. And after year after year after year, it turned into, well, I can't because them. How many times have we tried to deal with something on our own strength? How many times have we said, okay, today's the day, I'm going to get there, and something or somebody gets in our way? And it's easy to pass it off. It's easy to say, well, I would step up. They call it like Monday night quarterbacking. It's easy to sit in your house and say, well, I would, if it were me, I would do this, but nobody wants to take responsibility. It's hard to step up and take responsibility for something. It's easy to go to church every Sunday. It's easy to come and sit down and enjoy the worship. And it's easy to engage in service. It's easy to do these things. But when it comes down, have you noticed that? I'll be honest with you, I've experienced that. It's easy to show up and participate in, hey, how are you? Good to see you. Shake someone's hand, give them a hug. It's easy to do that. But when the Lord starts speaking to me about things that I need to deal with, then all of a sudden, man, I got to go. You know, good to see you, brother. See you next Sunday. But hey, I gotta go to Duke's. I love Duke's, by the way. I figured that out real fast. But I mean, think about that. It's easy to make excuses when you get lost in it, when you're invested in it. For 38 years, he's now invested in this. It's easy to not deal with your sin when you're invested in it. It's easy to say, like, God, like, I don't want to leave her alone. She's not that bad. She's a good person. I don't want to stop. I don't go to the bar. I just drink at home. I ain't bothering nobody. It's easy to make decisions. Look at Abraham. Look at Abraham when the Lord told him, like, stop arguing with your wife, Abraham. Sarah's right. You have to let Hagar and the baby go. And Abraham, fought and argued, and God finally told him, shut up, Abraham. Stop arguing with her and let her go. Put her out. That was his son. And what does the scripture say? That he packed a lunch and some water. I imagine how that conversation went. Boy, I love you. I know it wasn't right, but what your mama and I did, but you got to go. It's hard to deal with sin when you've put so much investment into it. We see that here for this man who's been at the pool for 38 years and now he's invested. Now he's given up. And now it's everybody else that is getting in his way. And now it's everyone else that when he's so invested and he's so lost in it that he doesn't recognize this. When I started reading this, I'm gonna read John 5, but I'm gonna read this time from the Passion Translation. I want you to understand something that it says, from Galilee, Jesus returned to Jerusalem to observe one of the Jewish feasts. Inside the city, near the sheep gate, there was a pool called in Aramaic, the house of loving kindness, surrounded by 5 covered porches. You could be at the sheep gate in the house of loving kindness and be so invested in this sin that has bound you up for so long and the good shepherd comes through the sheep gate and he says, do you want to be healed? And because you're so blind and so invested, your response is, I can't. Because they. Think about that. The moment he has been wanting for 38 years has stepped in front of him. He doesn't have to contend for who gets in the pool first. He doesn't have to crawl. He doesn't have to beg. The person who could change his life forever steps in front of him and asks him and offers what he's been wanting for 38 years. And his response is, I can't. I have been there. I've been there. I've been so lost in my mess. I'll be completely transparent with you. For 15 years, I was a police officer. One of the conversations that I had as a police officer was with my investigation sergeant who came into my office one day because a couple of nights before, got a little too crazy at the bar and decided that I was going to fight someone. And then I decided I was going to drive myself home. The funny thing about that is the police department followed me home to make sure I got home safely. But he came to my office and he said, do you have a problem? Like, we'll help you. We'll get you counseling. You can go to rehab. We'll figure it out. It doesn't have to be a big thing. You know, I told him, no, I'm good. Good. I'm just stressed. You know, I just got a lot going on right now. There's a lot at home, a lot at work. I'm good. It ain't going to happen again. The moment that comes for him, and Jesus walks in front of him, says, when Jesus saw him and knew. Jesus saw him and knew. You can't hide what you're doing. You can deny it. You don't have to own it. You can brush it off and you can excuse it and you can blame somebody else. But it says Jesus saw and knew that he had been sick a long time. And it says, Jesus says, would you like to get well? Notice that in this miracle, he never mentioned faith. Other miracles, he says what? Your faith has made you well. He comes up to him and he says, would you like to get well? And the man's response is, sir, I can't. And Jesus told him, stand up, pick up your mat, and walk. What I like about that response is, because I'm just that type of person, he didn't coddle him. Some people like to be coddled. Some people like to sit down and it's okay, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's just bad people and it's a bad world and, it's just, it's not your fault. Jesus didn't get down and go like, I know, bud. I know. He didn't do that. But how many people want that? How many people don't want to just we don't want to just deal with the root of our problem. We don't want to confront it. And the Lord is asking him, do you want to be healed? Do you want to be well? Would you like to be well? The response should have been, yeah. I've been here for 38 years. Yes. But he immediately says, I can't. The Lord didn't get down and say, okay, man, let's talk this out. What's wrong? What's wrong? Who hurt you? Who got in your way? Who took the turn in front of you? He didn't do that. But that's how we want to be treated. It's easier to get coddled, and it's easier to pass the blame, and it's easier to look everyone else instead of having that hard conversation between you and the Lord and say, Lord, fix me. I can't do this anymore. I can't walk this way. I can't think like this. I keep going back. I keep buying into it. I'm lost. I keep walking in circles I've been here before. Have you ever done that? Yeah, or walk in circles man, I've seen this place before. Here I go again. He doesn't coddle him. He doesn't, pat him. It's okay. It's all right. We're going to get you through this. We're going to get you through this. But what does he do? He tells him, get up. Yeah, get up. I love his response because it is my personality where he looks at him and he says what? He says, Jesus told him, stand up. He didn't give him a suggestion. He didn't say, hey, man, I stand up. I know you could do it. Come on. I'm going to lay down with you, and then we're going to stand up together. But he looks at him, and he says, stand up. Pick up your mat and walk. You know what he did? He took all options off the table. Understand what he did. He didn't coddle him, but you know what else he didn't do? He didn't feed into that. He didn't take the time to sit there and say, I know it's their fault. I know you're hurting. He didn't go through this whole dialogue of why it's everyone else's fault and how we're going to get you through this and all this other stuff. He immediately responded with an order, with a direction. He immediately said, get up, stand up, grab your mat, and walk. When Jesus stepped in front of him, you know what he did? He took all excuses off the table and he empowered him. He empowered him to stand up. He gave him a direction. He gave him no other option. We're not here to debate this. I can't stand, right? I can't stand it. He knows where I'm going with this. I can't stand it when my kid wants to debate. See, I got another hand over here. We're preaching right now. We're talking but I can't stand it. It's one of my things. My mom used to tell me, my mom was mean. And when she was younger, she was mean. And she would, I'd start to talk to her and she'd be like, why? Because I said so. My mom had a paddle. I was the only boy. 4 sisters, the only boy. My mom had a paddle. In this paddle, it was about an inch thick of wood. It was about that big, and it had holes in it. My mom threw that thing at me one time. I kid you not. But my mom knew, she knew what life was going to bring me. She knew what was coming ahead for me. Every time I make an excuse, every time, there was a point, I'm gonna be a little bit more transparent. I'm going to take you back to my middle school years. Middle school. In middle school, I decided that I was going to start hanging around with a little bit older guys that I shouldn't have been hanging with, and I got involved and I started dabbling in methamphetamine and taking it to my school. My mom found out. I was so mad because my cousin told on me. But my mom, when she found out, we went to go to school, at least I thought. You know what she did? My mom and my father walked me into the principal's office and said, tell him what you did. And then my mom took me back in the car and drove me to the police department and said, tell him what you did. And then she said, you can have him if you want him. But you have to understand that this is also the mother, and I heard Miss Whitney just say this, like, praise God for moms. You have to understand that this is also the mom that for all these years, for 38 years of my life, who prayed and prayed and prayed that God would change my life. So when Jesus steps into the room, and when the good shepherd walks past the sheep gate and through the sheep gate, and he steps to his sheep. Think about that. He came and found one. He walked through everybody and found one. And the shepherd walks through the sheep gate and he says, do you want to be made well? And he says, I can't. And he said, I'm not here to say what you can't do. Stand up. And the man stands up and he grabs his mat and he walks. Jordan, will you come up? You and the team. And he grabs his mat and he walks. For the first time in 38 years, this man walks. For the first time in 38 years, this man had freedom. For the first time in 38 years, this man could do whatever he wanted to do, and he could go wherever it is he wanted to go. He picks up his mat and his walks, and if you go later on, a few verses down, the Lord disappears and he comes back, says he disappeared from the crowd, and then he comes back, and what does he do? He finds the man where? Do we know what? In the temple. He found him in church. And he found the man and he finds him in church, and what does he tell him? He says, now that you've been healed, stop sinning. Knock it off. Or you're going to be worse than you were before. I want you to explain this to you, that this is our God. This is the good shepherd. That he comes to him and he says, and he empowers him and he says, stand up. And he gives him a direction and he says, stand up. And the man stands up, and for the first time he's had freedom. But the Lord loved him so much that he came back, and what does he tell him? He says, stop sinning. You know what he's telling him? You don't belong in there. How many times does the Lord affect our lives? Does he change something in our life? Do we have an experience with him? And then all of a sudden, the pool of Bethesda, the environment that we were so used to starts calling back to us. And we start thinking, how many times where it gets hard again, and all of a sudden it was like, man, life was easier when I was just laying by the pool, a cripple. This is the grace of God, and it sounds really harsh when you read John 5. It sounds hard, like God, like wow, Jesus really laid it on him that day. That poor guy just got his legs back. But that's the care and the grace and the love of God, because he tells him, I know it's going to get hard. I know you're going to get tempted. I know it's about to get difficult for you, because now you have freedom. Now you can go wherever it is you want to go. Now you can do whatever it is you want to do. Don't go back. Stop sinning. He told him, stand up, pick up your mat. Why? Why did he tell him to pick up his mat? Because he don't live there anymore. He vacated that space. He vacated that. He gave up his right to that. No longer no longer can he claim that space as his, that he took his belongings and he left. He had no right to be there anymore. And the Lord was telling him, don't go back, or it's going to be worse. I don't know how much worse it could get by being a cripple and being by the pool and watching all this stuff happen and living in that filth. But he warned him it would be worse. This is how much the grace of God, the love of God has for us. Like he cares about us, that in our weakness, he is strong. Can we stand real quick? There's people, and I believe that this is a word for someone here. That it's easy to make excuses about the situation that you've been in for so long. It's easy to get lost in that. It's easy to say, well, Lord, I want to do this, but my husband, and I want to do this, but my wife, and I want to do this, but my kids, but my job, but my boss, but this or but that. It's easy. But the Lord is telling you today, He is telling you today that today is the day where you stand up. Today is the day where you stand up and you grab your mat, you grab your belongings, and you grab those things that you've had parked in that moment, that you've had parked in that situation. And He's saying, gather your belongings and leave. You're not going to live in that anymore. There are times where the Lord, when He encountered Nathanael, when He saw him and He said, Nathanael was under the tree, and the Lord said, I saw you under the tree. And it was a softer moment. But there are times where the Lord will just tell you, stand up. That you weren't meant for this. You weren't designed for this. There's more for you. You don't have to sell yourself short. You don't have to give yourself away in these hidden moments that you think are hidden to everybody else, so you think you're okay. You don't have to keep selling yourself off. You were meant for greater than this. My calling on you is greater than this. My purpose for you is greater than this. It's time to stand up. If we can have the prayer team come forward. You were meant for greater. I was meant for greater. At 38 years old, I made a decision that changed my life forever. But before I turn this over to Bob to do the altar call, I'm going to say this, that the Lord speaks to us, and sometimes He will speak to us indirectly, and He will not play with us. He will not toy around with our emotions or our feelings or our thoughts. My wife tells me feelings are not facts. I learned that from her. One of the smartest things she said blew my mind. My feelings are not facts. I love it. But I'm going to tell you this, that at the beginning of my walk, after I was 38 years old, God changed my life. There was a part of me that was still hanging on to what I previously had. I kept playing around. I kept entertaining friends. We used to all get together in the backyard of this house. It was a beautiful house with a big pool overlooking the town, and we used to just get wild back there, throw parties. Good people. You know, I think they're great people. We didn't do anything crazy. We all worked together. Department of Defense. We all worked on the military base. Just a big party. And as the Lord started changing my life after that day where I asked Him to, I kept playing around with it. And I kept making excuse on why we can't just cut them off completely. So we'll go this Saturday, but next Saturday we won't do that. And we'll be okay. They're friends, they're good. And the Lord spoke through my wife one day like he does. And He spoke through my wife, and she looked at me in the driveway of our house. And you know what she told me? She said, if you're going to lead this family, you better cut them off. If you're going to be the man that God called you to be, and if you're going to lead this family, you better make a decision. Because I'm not doing this. That's a true story. There's somebody here, God's telling you, stand up. It's time to stand up. You weren't meant for this. You're meant for more. And you won't ever see it. 6 years ago, I would have never told you that I'd be standing in South Carolina right here in the church. I'd have never thought. I was fat, dumb, and happy chasing mule deer at 8,000 feet elevation in the mountains and hanging around with friends I never thought that I would be here. Rolling down the mountain with a road soda. That's what I used to call them, road sodas. I never thought God would pull me here. But you're not going to see what God has for you, the greatness that He has for you, until you stand up. Bob, let's pray.